Our story opens with the unmistakable Wednesday Addams arriving at her high school with a wonderfully macabre expression on her face. She discovers her dear brother Pugsley has been cruelly bound and stuffed inside his locker, an utterly intolerable situation. As she frees him, she speaks the most serenely menacing words you will ever hear. "I want names." In a flash of astonishing psychic power, a vision seizes her, revealing the very bullies who tormented her brother. When she learns the culprits are members of the swim team, a plan for revenge begins to form in her mind. She then proceeds to the swimming pool, carrying 2 bags filled with delightfully voracious piranhas. She then declares, "The only person who gets to torture my brother is me." With a magnificently stoic expression, she unleashes the ferocious fish into the pool, and it is a moment of sheer visual drama. The raw terror as the bullies scramble for their lives is spectacularly gratifying to witness. A small, profoundly content smile spreads across Wednesday's face, signaling a revenge mission flawlessly executed. Her parents, Morticia and Gomez, are exasperated by her actions and decide a significant change is needed. They decide to send her to Nevermore Academy, a school for supernatural outcasts like themselves. In a foreboding turn of events, a lone hiker ventures into the woods near Nevermore, oblivious to the danger lurking there. Mere minutes into his journey, a truly horrifying creature attacks and savagely ends his life in a ghastly manner. Later, the local sheriff finds the hiker's mauled remains and begins an investigation at the scene. We soon learn this is just the latest in a string of similar grisly slayings, and the sheriff suspects a connection to the enigmatic institution. Wednesday's arrival at Nevermore is a genuinely stunning sight, as the Gothic architecture flawlessly reflects her own soul. She meets Principal Lissa Weems, who reveals that she was Morticia's old roommate. Weems assigns Wednesday to her mother's former dorm room, a space positively vibrating with history and secrets. Then we are introduced to her new roommate, Enid, who is a vibrant burst of color, cheer, and werewolf energy. The contrast between Enid's vibrant side of the room and Wednesday's dark Gothic aesthetic is immediately apparent. Enid gives Wednesday a delightfully fast-paced tour of the academy, introducing the 4 main factions of students. The tour introduces the main student groups, the Fangs, the Furs, the Stoners, and the Scales. She points out the school's reigning queen bee, a siren of mesmerizing beauty named Bianca Barclay. We also meet her fascinating ex-boyfriend, Xavier Thorpe, a gifted artist who can make his drawings literally leap off the page. The Addams family says their goodbyes in a uniquely macabre yet touching fashion. Morticia warns Wednesday that their relatives have been alerted in case she attempts to run away. Gomez secretly releases Thing, a dismembered living hand, to keep an eye on his daughter. That very evening, Wednesday and Enid's contrasting natures create an immediate and dramatic collision over their shared living space. Wednesday actually bisects the room with tape, while Enid blasts cheerful music, much to Wednesday's quiet, simmering irritation. The next day, Wednesday joins the fencing class and immediately challenges the reigning champion, Bianca. She audaciously demands they duel with no masks and no tips, a rule change that makes the entire confrontation exceptionally thrilling. Though Bianca ultimately wins the match, the sheer ferocity of their duel is truly exhilarating to watch. Later, in a genuinely startling and pulse-racing moment, a massive stone gargoyle suddenly plummets from the roof, heading straight for Wednesday. Out of nowhere, Xavier valiantly pushes her out of the way, saving her life with only seconds to spare. He explains he is returning a childhood favor from when she rescued him from being cremated alive at his godmother's funeral. Back in her dorm room, Wednesday discovers Thing, which leads to a direct confrontation between them. She skillfully threatens to lock the disembodied hand in a drawer for eternity unless he pledges his undying loyalty to her. A frightened Thing quickly agrees to serve her, marking the beginning of their new partnership. As part of her transfer, Wednesday is required to attend court-mandated therapy sessions in the nearby town of Jericho. She cleverly outwits her therapist before making a magnificently smooth and audacious escape through a window. She finds herself in a charming coffee shop where she meets Tyler, the sheriff's son, who works as a barista. Displaying her remarkable intelligence, she effortlessly fixes his complex espresso machine, leaving him utterly astounded. As a thank you, he agrees to drive her to the train station to facilitate her getaway from Nevermore. While they wait, a group of local bullies makes the grave error of taunting her, and she defeats them with breathtaking martial arts prowess. The sheriff arrives to find the aftermath, and upon learning her last name, reveals his profound disdain for her father, Gomez. On the car ride back to the academy, she is struck by another potent premonition, correctly foreseeing that the driver in a recent wreck is dead. That night, she plays her cello on the dorm balcony in a scene that is so hauntingly beautiful it will give you chills. Sensing something is gravely amiss with a fellow student named Rowan, Wednesday bravely tails him into the ominous woods. He startlingly employs his telekinetic powers to pin her to a tree, revealing his mother had a vision of Wednesday destroying Nevermore. Just as he begins to choke her with his powers, an immense, frightening monster leaps from the darkness and savagely mauls Rowan. Wednesday tells her parents via crystal ball that she was right about the school, saying, "I think I am going to love it here." The morning after Rowan's supposed death kicks off with an incredibly tense interrogation between Sheriff Galpin and Wednesday. He absolutely refuses to believe her fantastic story about a monster, convinced she fabricated the entire horrifying event. Their conversation is cut short by a stunning interruption when a deputy arrives with Rowan, who is perfectly alive and well. You can sense Wednesday's profound confusion as she begins to fear she is genuinely losing her mind, a truly devastating thought. Upon returning to the grand halls of Nevermore, she finds the marvelously vibrant Enid is completely preoccupied with the upcoming Edgar Allan Poe Cup. Enid's resolve to finally defeat the seemingly unstoppable Bianca is a truly inspiring sight to behold. Wednesday, however, stays focused on the mystery, discovering a cryptic watermark on the drawing Rowan gave her. She tries to speak with Rowan, but Principal Weems informs her that he has been expelled from the academy. Weems then drops a stunning revelation, disclosing she knows all about Wednesday's psychic visions, just like her mother Morticia once did. The principal assigns Wednesday an extracurricular activity and orders Thing to keep a watch on the supposedly expelled Rowan. Thing follows Rowan to the train station, where he slips into a restroom and performs a breathtaking transformation into an old man. Tragically, Thing loses his trail, completely missing the astounding change in his appearance. Later, in a staggering plot twist, that same old man morphs into Principal Weems, revealing she is a shapeshifter covering up Rowan's death. This is a significant revelation that changes the direction of the investigation. Wednesday attempts to gather more information by visiting the school's extracurricular clubs. She joins the beekeeping club with a delightfully sweet student named Eugene simply to stay close to the crime scene. She then asks Enid to cover for her so she can slip back into the woods to continue her investigation. While searching, she finds Rowan's glasses, which trigger a startlingly vivid vision of a mysterious purple book. The vision leads her to a conservatory where she finds the book, which belonged to a disbanded secret society called the Nightshades. She then boldly slips into Rowan's room and hides under the bed, just in time to overhear a fiercely intense argument between Bianca and Xavier. The following day is the Poe Cup, and the atmosphere is absolutely buzzing with excitement and rivalry. Enid's co-pilot has a hilariously bizarre garlic braid incident, creating the perfect opportunity for Wednesday to enter the race. Wednesday agrees to join Enid's team, the Black Cats, with the goal of humiliating Bianca. The race itself is a delightfully chaotic and action-packed sequence you could hardly imagine. Bianca's team of sirens resorts to sabotage, but Wednesday and Enid, with Thing's invaluable help, outwit them at every turn. They use a fishnet to capture a merman and deploy werewolf claws to disable another boat in a display of sheer brilliance. Wednesday delivers a deeply gratifying final blow, wrecking Bianca's boat with spears and securing a legendary victory. Later, standing before the Edgar Allan Poe statue, she deciphers a series of intricate riddles. With 2 snaps of her fingers, a secret passageway to a hidden chamber is magically revealed. Inside, she at last discovers Rowan's mysterious book, the object of her entire quest. But before she can inspect it, someone throws a black sack over her head. She finds herself encircled by the current members of the Nightshades, who amaze her by offering a spot in their secret society. It is a divinely awful fate for Wednesday, as she is assigned to play her cello with the perpetually upbeat Jericho High Marching Band. Simultaneously, the town's intensely biased Sheriff Galpin reveals his loathsome opinions about the outcasts to the complicit Mayor Walker. However, Wednesday devises a plan to swap volunteer duties with Enid. Her objective is to investigate the historical relics of Jericho's founder, Joseph Crackstone. At the fudge shop, Wednesday delivers a stunning dose of truth, enlightening a group of tourists about the ghastly actual history of the Pilgrims. It is an amazing spectacle, as she personally sends them all fleeing in a state of total disbelief. Concurrently, Enid flirts with Ajax at an antique shop. In a genuinely touching display of courage, she finally works up the nerve to ask him out, and it is simply delightful. Back at the fudge shop, however, events take a grim twist when Mayor Walker's despicable son Lucas and his friends start tormenting poor Eugene. Wednesday's response is immediate and truly magnificent as she intervenes to defend her friend with unmatched intensity. She dispenses the most gratifying form of justice by securing one of the tormentors in the stocks for all to witness. Afterward, she enters the shuttered meeting house, seeking the secrets concealed inside. Within, she uncovers the most amazing finding, a portrait of the enigmatic blonde girl from her visions clutching a significant book. Tyler reveals the location of the original meeting house ruins in the forest. She and Thing travel to find the old structure, a place that holds a sinister power. The instant Wednesday makes contact with the door, she is struck by an immensely potent vision, an astonishing trip 400 years into history. We are introduced to her remarkable forebear, Goody Adams, who is on trial against the villainous Joseph Crackstone himself. Crackstone charges Goody with sorcery and gathers all the other outcasts in the town. It is a completely crushing and poignant scene as he confines them all in a barn and ruthlessly ignites it. When Wednesday at last awakens from the vision, she sees the exact same beast that killed Rowan standing directly in front of her. She pursues it in a thrilling chase, only to observe the most astonishing metamorphoses as its tracks shift from monstrous to human. At that moment, she encounters Xavier, who astoundingly confesses that he is beginning to accept her incredible tales about the beast. The following day, during the dedication of a new monument to Crackstone, Wednesday orchestrates her retaliation. With Thing's essential help, she arranges for the fountain to be filled with fuel, and the whole memorial bursts into a magnificent inferno. As the crowd shrieks in utter pandemonium, Wednesday carries on playing her cello with a flawlessly sinister grin. Subsequently, she has an intense showdown with Principal Weems, accusing her of being complicit in concealing Jericho's truly violent past. The night concludes with the most powerful cliffhangers, leaving poor Enid utterly heartbroken and the monster claiming another unaware victim. Can you fathom the sheer astonishing boldness of Wednesday and Thing infiltrating the Jericho morgue under the cover of darkness? It is truly unbelievable. She conducts a detailed examination documenting each of her grim discoveries. This results in the staggering revelation that each victim had various parts surgically excised, indicating the murderer is gathering macabre souvenirs. The following day, Xavier unexpectedly invites Wednesday to the Raven Dance. Naturally, she initially refuses, only to later slip into his private art studio, which is the most classic Wednesday maneuver ever. Within, she uncovers the most incriminating proof imaginable, a large collection of drawings that perfectly match the fearsome creature. When Xavier challenges her about the intrusion, she spontaneously invites him to the dance as a diversion, and he amazingly agrees, which is utterly astounding. Wednesday presents the sketches to Sheriff Galpin, who recognizes their resemblance to his own investigation photos. He agrees to cooperate with her investigation on the condition that she provide concrete proof. In a charming subplot, Lucas Walker invites the lovely Enid to the dance, and her immensely cheerful yes is simply the most heartwarming thing. Then, in a genuinely poignant scene, Tyler reveals his sincere affections for Wednesday and asks her to be his partner for the evening. It is completely heartbreaking when she must inform him she is attending with Xavier, leaving poor Tyler appearing so obviously wounded and dejected. Wednesday then makes the astounding choice to recruit Eugene to help her observe a cavern from Xavier's sketches rather than attend the dance. Within the eerie cavern, they unearth a truly menacing finding, locating old manacles and one of the creature's own claws on the floor. Requiring genetic material for proof, Wednesday returns to Xavier's art studio to find an object to compare with the claw. There, she discovers the most terrifying piece of evidence yet, a stained cloth that appears to validate all her deepest misgivings about him. Xavier apprehends her yet again, and his reasoning is completely astonishing. He confesses the monster has been mercilessly plaguing his nightmares. He reveals that the claw marks on his neck appeared when one of his sketches came to life and attacked him. Understanding she has been exploiting him all along, Xavier becomes incandescent with fury and expels her from his studio with such tangible wrath. On the evening of the Raven, in a spectacular display of interference, Thing fabricates a note and invites Tyler to the dance in Wednesday's name. Tyler appears with the most exquisitely ideal black gown for her, a gesture so considerate that she makes the incredible choice to accompany him. At the event, Wednesday renders everyone utterly dumbfounded with her now legendarily peculiar and marvelously unique dance routine. The evening is disrupted when Lucas's friends play a practical joke, activating the sprinklers and drenching everyone in red liquid. At that moment, Eugene spots a person in red boots throwing an incendiary device into the cavern before being pursued into the forest. Returning to the dance, Wednesday is abruptly overcome by a horrifying psychic premonition of Eugene being savagely assaulted by the beast. She sprints frantically into the forest and discovers him grievously wounded on the ground, a totally crushing and ghastly cliffhanger. A youthful and suave Gomez Adams is shockingly apprehended for murder when a corpse drops right at the feet of a young Larissa Weems. The story returns to the present day for Parents' Weekend at Nevermore Academy. The legendary Addams family, with Gomez, Morticia, and Pugsley in tow, makes a spectacularly theatrical arrival like no other. In a family therapy session simmering with silent conflict, Wednesday courageously questions her parents about the demise of Garrett Gates. Could you possibly comprehend the stunning boldness and genius of Wednesday insisting on answers right then and there? Her parents' silence prompts Wednesday to investigate the matter on her own. Afterward, within a wonderfully eerie cemetery, Wednesday covertly witnesses Morticia placing a solitary rose stem upon Garrett Gates's tombstone. Next, in a completely staggering turn of events, Sheriff Galpin gets word that the coroner has taken his own life. A note was discovered which admitted the original paperwork in the Garrett Gates investigation had been falsified. Wielding this highly questionable confession, the sheriff bursts into Nevermore and detains Gomez before the entire student body. From behind bars, Gomez at last recounts his side of the tale to Wednesday, maintaining that Garrett Gates was fixated on Morticia and initiated the assault. He clarifies that amid their altercation, Garrett was grievously pierced by Gomez's own blade in a terrible mishap. Wednesday believes her father is sincere, yet her intuition tells her that part of the story is still missing. She even musters the nerve to challenge the sheriff regarding the incredibly dubious timing of the coroner's abrupt demise. The full truth is revealed when Wednesday and Morticia meet in the Nightshade's library. In reality, it was Morticia who, in a frantic attempt to protect herself, held the weapon as Garrett charged and ran himself through. Gomez, in an act of profound and chivalrous love, accepted responsibility all those years ago to shield the woman he adores. Morticia then provides a key detail, recalling that Garrett was frothing at the mouth during the assault. This detail leads Wednesday to conclude that he must have been poisoned with nightshade. Therefore, in a breathtakingly audacious maneuver, they excavate Garrett's brave and discover a detached blue-tinged finger, which is simply astounding. Following their arrest for this act, Wednesday experiences a potent vision that unmasks the whole dreadful scheme. Garrett's own father, an utterly contemptible fanatic, had directed his son to administer poison to all the outcasts at the dance. The phial of nightshade had broken inside Garrett's pocket during the altercation. Upon being freed, they masterfully confront Mayor Walker, the previous sheriff, who confesses he concealed the truth to safeguard the community. As Parents' Weekend thankfully draws to a close, Wednesday challenges Principal Weems with the stunning disclosure that she is aware Weems is a shapeshifter. Yet before Weems can even muster a reply, a truly chilling message, "Fire will rain," materializes in fiery letters across the school grounds. The boldness of Wednesday's attempt to contact her ancestor, the legendary Goody Adams, through a seance is simply astounding. At the start of this profound spiritual ceremony, her friends interrupt with a surprise birthday party, the most startling interruption imaginable. Incredibly, the celebration is taking place within the truly terrifying crypt of Joseph Crackstone himself. During a genuinely stunning moment, Wednesday touches an altar and is instantly swept into a potent, reality-bending vision. The spirit of Goody Adams manifests with a horrifying admonition. Joseph Crackstone is returning to claim his vengeance. Goody reveals that the only way to prevent the disaster is for Wednesday to find a specific, mysterious estate. The next day, Wednesday uses her artistic skill to accurately sketch the gates from her vision. Meanwhile, Mayor Walker discovers that Laurel Gates, Garrett's sister, had allegedly drowned, but her body was never found. Xavier sees her drawing and recognizes the gates as belonging to the abandoned Gates residence. Wednesday goes to the estate alone and sees Mayor Walker inside. She then hides in the trunk of his car to follow him. Then, in a completely crushing and unforeseen incident, a threatening blue Cadillac appears from nowhere and brutally runs the mayor down. This dreadful event compels Principal Weems to rescind all of Wednesday's town privileges, a truly maddening turn of affairs. Unstoppable as ever, Wednesday artfully persuades Tyler to go on a purported date, creating the ideal cover for her ongoing inquiry. She then persuades both him and a reluctant Enid to return with her to the Gates property. Within, they uncover the most hair-raising finding yet. The very same blue Cadillac that struck the mayor is sitting in the garage. They also locate a concealed shrine devoted to Joseph Crackstone, a ghastly validation of their deepest fears. While exploring on her own, a startled Enid finds a bedroom that appears recently occupied, featuring fresh flowers, which is intensely disquieting. Wednesday discovers an antique music box bearing the initials LG, which can only mean it belongs to the presumed dead Laurel Gates. All at once, a terrifying shriek echoes through the house as the monster materializes and furiously pursues the girls. They escape into the cellar, only to be met with the most macabre spectacle conceivable, a collection of preserved remains from the creature's victims. Following their harrowing escape, they find Tyler miraculously alive, but grievously injured with savage, deep gouges across his chest. When Sheriff Galpin and his team arrive to inspect the property, they find it has been cleared of all evidence. Completely exasperated by Wednesday's dangerous conduct, a crestfallen and frightened Enid at last gathers her belongings and leaves their room. Now entirely on her own, Wednesday opens the music box and finds a hidden chamber holding the most unnerving discovery imaginable, candid pictures of herself. And in a last, most sinister deed, an unknown assailant enters the hospital and slays Mayor Walker, ensuring his permanent silence. The story begins with the incredibly solemn funeral for Mayor Walker, but you will never guess who Wednesday spies lurking in the woods. It is none other than Uncle Fester, arriving in the most startling and electrifying manner possible. Wednesday conceals him in Eugene's beehive barn, which serves as an effective hiding place. Fester then shares a staggering revelation. The monster is a Hyde, a creature whose fearsome alternate nature is unleashed by a secret master. He reveals the existence of Nathaniel Faulkner's diary, a volume containing key information and secured within a hidden nightshade safe. That evening, in a moment of pure tension, Wednesday and Fester infiltrate the library to retrieve this vitally important artifact. The journal's pages explain that a Hyde forms a bond of servitude to the one who unleashes its nature. As if the situation were not tense enough, Miss Thornhill delivers the devastating announcement that Enid has officially asked to leave their room. The following morning, they follow Xavier and observe him having a meeting with his therapist, Dr. Kinbot. This simple meeting ignites a dazzling new hypothesis in Wednesday's mind, making her utterly certain that Dr. Kinbot is the sinister master. She explains this theory to Tyler at the coffee shop, drawing him further into the mystery. Later, in a long-anticipated moment, Wednesday agrees to a proper date with Tyler at the wonderfully moody Crackstone's crypt. But during their absence, something dreadful occurs. Their dorm room is utterly pillaged in a brutal and frightening assault. The journal is stolen, which is a significant setback for the investigation. And in an absolutely heart-stopping discovery, poor thing has been cruelly pierced and pinned to the wall with a knife. Just when all hope seems lost, the wonderful Uncle Fester uses his extraordinary electrical abilities to remarkably resuscitate our beloved disembodied hand. Woohoo! During their conversation, Principal Weems discloses that hides were banned from Nevermore 30 years prior. Bianca and Lucas then present a truly astounding clue, uncovering an anagram that reveals the true identity of Laurel Gates. Wednesday, with unwavering conviction, now believes Dr. Kinbot is the long-lost Laurel Gates and confronts her in an exceptionally suspenseful scene. As a perplexed Dr. Kinbot calls Principal Weems for help, the Hyde emerges from the shadows and commits a ferocious attack directly in front of Wednesday. Wednesday goes to Xavier's art studio, where she discovers evidence planted to implicate him. The sheriff sadly arrives and arrests Xavier, fallen for a truly wicked and masterfully crafted scheme. In a wonderfully moving moment of genuine friendship, Enid returns to their dorm room, and the two have a sincere and emotional reunion. Seeking a moment of tranquility, Wednesday goes to the coffee shop and shares a highly anticipated, simply perfect first kiss with Tyler. But the very moment their lips touch, Wednesday is struck by an overwhelming and horrifying vision. She sees it all with frightening clarity. Tyler himself, transformed and monstrous, is the Hyde who just attacked Dr. Kinbot. The ingenious Wednesday, supported by the enigmatic Nightshades, finally ensnares the one and only Tyler Galpin. She fearlessly accuses him of being the horrifying Hyde, and a stunning jolt of energy fills the air. Wednesday then delivers a staggering revelation, sharing the hidden truth about his mother also being a Hyde. When Tyler attempts to refute the claim, Wednesday prepares to compel a confession through extreme measures, but her friends unbelievably desert her. As the situation becomes critical, Sheriff Galpin and his deputies arrive, bringing the confrontation to a stop. Later at the police station, Tyler requests to speak privately with Wednesday. And then, my dear, the facade utterly shatters as he admits to it all with a chillingly detached manner I have never before seen. He cruelly mocks our protagonist, warning her that a far more sinister threat is approaching, leaving us all completely paralyzed with fear. As a consequence of her actions, Principal Weems expels Wednesday from Nevermore Academy. Sharing a poignant goodbye with her marvelously cheerful roommate Enid is one of the most deeply touching scenes in the entire story. But just when things look their bleakest, Wednesday visits Eugene in the hospital, and he is astoundingly conscious. He provides key information, revealing that he saw the arsonist at the cave wearing red footwear. In a moment of brilliant insight, Wednesday instantly realizes that it had to be the ostensibly harmless Miss Thornhill from the very beginning. She hurries back to the greenhouse for a climactic showdown, courageously addressing Miss Thornhill by her actual fiendish identity, Laurel Gates. The charade is utterly destroyed, but then comes the most astonishing turn of events when Tyler materializes, only for it not to be him in reality. It was Principal Weems who had skillfully transformed into his form in a genuinely valiant yet ultimately heartbreaking display of courage. Taken entirely off guard, the nefarious Laurel administers a lethal injection of nightshade poison, and we must witness Weems's tragic demise. Wednesday awakens to find herself shackled inside Crackstone's tomb. Laurel reveals her plan to revive the pilgrim Joseph Crackstone using Wednesday's lineage. With a terrible gash from a blade, she uses Wednesday's essence, and the ghastly Crackstone returns to the mortal plane in a dramatic surge of sinister energy. In his very first act, the revived antagonist ruthlessly impales Wednesday and abandons her to her fate to go raise the academy. But then, the ethereal apparition of her ancestor, Goody Adams, materializes to mend her injuries and impart the key to triumph. Goody informs her that the only way to defeat Crackstone is to stab him in his heart. As the final confrontation for Nevermore unfolds, the Hyde ambushes Wednesday, but then something truly astounding occurs. Enid, strengthened by the radiant crimson moon, at last transforms into a splendid lycanthrope and charges into a fierce struggle to protect her friend. The intense fight concludes when the sheriff arrives and subdues the Hyde. Meanwhile, Bianca strikes Crackstone from behind, creating a diversion that gives Wednesday an opportunity. With unmatched bravery, Wednesday plunges a fragment of a shattered sword straight into his vile heart, eradicating the primordial malevolence for all time. Just as the conflict seems resolved, Laurel emerges with a weapon, but our wonderful companion Eugene valiantly directs a swarm of bees to incapacitate her. The Academy is at last secure, and we get to behold the deeply touching and eagerly anticipated embrace between Wednesday and Enid in her human form. The story concludes as Wednesday receives a threatening message from an unknown person, and Tyler begins to transform again.